Kia ora koutou, Jade Varopanabini Oni here again. This is a small series that I am doing to promote resilience. Resilience that comes from an open heart. Again, if you've watched a few of these videos, you would have heard me say that resilience was really at the heart of, and still is at the heart of, what it has taken for me to make different choices in how I show up for myself, different choices in how I communicate to myself and to others, and therefore resilience is the focus of this of the series I'm wanting to do on YouTube, because it is so important when we are. The vision that just came up is like, sometimes when we're feeling like we just want to claw our way out of this cave that we've got ourselves into, choices need to be made and resilience needs to be built. And so the series of ideas, concepts, models that I am jamming on, teaching on here, are the nuts and bolts of resilience. So I've just done the video on boundaries, and now we're moving into expectations. And like in every video, I want there to be a structure, a format, so that you can connect to the concept of expectations. You can understand what the word means. You can understand why it's important, and also how you can recognize within you where your expectations are coming from, and then what outcomes your expectations have. So I'm trying to find somewhere to put my iPad. I think we will do. Beautiful. Awesome. So what is an expectation? Well, one way that I heard it being put, and it was quite brilliant, is that expectations are like disappointments waiting to happen when we put expectation on out there in the world. The moment that we put an expectation out there in the world on another, generally, or on a situation, is like a disappointment waiting to happen. And I'm going to go into this a little bit, because I think there are healthy ways to have expectations, and then there are not so healthy or sustainable ways to hold expectation. These series are all about how to build resilience and how we think, and how we hold ourselves with others in the world. And so when I think about expectations, another word that you could use interchangeably is standards, and also boundaries, right? So I think the elephant in the room, when we think about expectations, is the origin. Like, where is that coming from? Where are our expectations coming from? Because when we expect something, right, we want to think about what energy is behind that expectation. That matters a whole lot, and we'll get into that as we go into the how, and talk a bit deeper about the why. So I trust that was clear. It may not have been, because I feel like, what is an expectation? Well, it depends on where you're coming from, but generally an expectation is when we put a need. That's probably the closest way that I can language this. It is a need that we can have on something external to us or on ourselves, right? So it's a need, it's a form of a need. And yeah, it's about where is all of that need? Where is that expectation? Where is that all coming from? Let's get into it. Why are expectations important for us to understand, for us to have awareness around? I believe, and this is just me, and no doubt you're watching this video because you like a bit of me and what I have to say. I believe that expectations show us where we are coming from. And what I mean by that is they show us if our focus is more focused outside of us, so externally, or if our focus is on our internal world. Now, let me say that another way. Our expectations that we have, that we put out in the world, or that we just have, show us whether we have needs of others, right? Where we fixate on need, like the need, like whether we put, I can't find my damn words, but in my confusion, you should be finding some form of clarity, because you'll be feeling me getting confused and you'll be like, oh, I know the answer. That's great. So it shows us where we're needing from. It shows us where we're needing from. Are our needs attached to outside of us, or are our needs focused internally? Let's keep going, because when I'm hearing this, I'm going, this sounds confusing. Stay with me or not. When I think of expectation, I think about why we can have expectation. Okay, why we would have expectation. Like, I expect you to do this for me, or I expect you to behave in a certain way for me. Like, why would we do that? And I believe it comes down to one of the core, like, fundamentals of where we are trying to derive our sense of worth from, our sense of lovability from. Where's that coming from? Where are we trying to get that from? Right? So if we're reaching outside of ourselves, trying to fill our love cup, trying to fill our inside with things outside, then we would have expectations, because we need people to perform or to behave in a certain way so that we can get what we need. Yeah, okay. That just got nailed. So rewind it back if you want to hear that again, but that was it. That felt clear. Whereas when we are taking care of our own needs inside of ourselves, and we are focused inside of, like, we are focused on taking care of our inner needs, then we're not so focused on the outside. Therefore, we don't have the kinds of expectations that require others to show up for us, provide for us, behave for us in certain ways out there, because we are taking care of those needs. So let me bring it back to what I was first saying when I opened up this video. And the heading of this video is expectations, the difference between fear and love in our expectations. Sometimes when our expectations are focused out, when we need others to show up or behave in a way, that helps us, then it's more fear-based, because it's more fear-based because our needs are dependent on something out there or others. And it's really coming from a place of scarcity that we cannot provide that need for ourselves. Therefore, when we switch over to a love, like expectations that come from love, it's all about the expectations that we put on ourselves to help ourselves, and it's more in integrity. So the difference between a love-based expectation and a fear-based expectation will look a little something like this, and I've said it a couple of times throughout this video. A fear-based expectation can look like, I expect you to treat me in a certain way so that I feel a certain way. That is a fear-based external expectation, because it involves another, it involves an expectation of another or something outside of us in order to feel a certain way. You feel me? A love-based expectation would be something like, and this is a really good example, when you are in a process of creating or making new choices, we can often sit around like wishing and waiting and hoping that, you know, new circumstances will come about. However, a way that we can use expectations from a place of love for ourselves, a way that we can use love-based expectations is by expecting different results to come our way because we acknowledge the work that we have put in. So it's like, no, I expect this outcome or this change to happen because I can see where I took this action, I invested this thing, I communicated this boundary, I, you know, turned and faced instead of like expecting someone to take care of me. Like, we are confident in ourselves, we are confident that we've taken care of our own needs, therefore we can language and use expectation, love-based expectational language, like, no, I expect that that result will come in this way and in this form. Like, I'm not sitting here wishing and waiting and hoping. I expect that it will happen. So therefore I expect so much, I can detach. I can detach from this. I don't have to sit around wishing, waiting, hoping, because I know, because I expect, because I know that I've done the work. I know that I've taken care of my needs. That's how expectations turns into this love-based, self-integral, beneficial thing in our lives. So really the journey is from, you know, when, like, we all start out having expectations external to ourselves, right? How we work with our expectations is, one, bring them in, like own them and bring them home. When I say bring them home, I mean take them from out there, being attached to, you know, family members, lovers, partners, husbands, wives, children. Take the expectations out off of people, circumstances, places out there, and bring them on home. Bring them in. Bring home all the things that you need other people to be. Bring them on home. Bring them in to you and be everything that you need you to be. Then once that's done, right, and there's no expectations of others, then there's a bit of work there, because you actually have to do, you know, like, you have to give yourself what you've been seeking out there all along. And there's a process, there's you know, it's a process of turning, facing, and feeling all the ways we haven't given ourselves what we needed. And, you know, it's that process alone that kickstarts us to giving ourselves what we need. So you can understand and appreciate and empathize why people, you know, just turn around and say, I need you to be what I need you to be for me, because turning, facing, feeling, owning our expectations, owning our needs, taking care of our needs for ourselves, like, that's a big gig. It's a big gig. So I can totally empathize why I used to do it, why human beings still do it, because it's a lot of unknown, it's a lot of not knowing, you know, it's a lot of we don't know what we don't know, and so we're just doing what we do. But this is why I'm making videos, to, you know, because that way of living, of having all your needs dependent on outside of you, that ain't gonna get you nowhere, right? It's really not going to get you nowhere, especially when you want to create, you know, the type of trajectory, like change the trajectory of your, like, family lines of your life, of you know, the other women and men in your life. When you want those paths to change, we need resilience, and with that we need things like expectations that are based and grounded in love and self-responsibility and self-ownership. So that feels like a wrap for the expectations piece here. If you have any questions, as I always say, you can leave them below, but also like find my email, find me on Instagram, and if you really have a burning question like that you actually want me to answer, yeah, please, and it might be a bit more personal, please find me on Insta or send me an email and I will get back to you there. All right, ka kite.